All right, everyone, it's time to talk about today's haranguing from the legacy media. It goes hand in hand with the repeat a lie often enough so that it becomes accepted as truth by the lame streamers sort of thing, because that's what they're constantly doing to a lot of personas. They do this to Milo all the time. Now, again, I say this as someone who's not really a fan of Milo. I see him as basically a real-life clickbaiter. Milo Yiannopoulos, who's in this article, and I'll get into the sum and substance of the article in depth in a moment, is called like a racist, a bigot in here. That's funny because I'm pretty sure he just married his long-term boyfriend, who I believe happens to be black. He sounds like a total Hitler. He's also gay and Jewish, but this escapes notice. You'll never see those facts actually presented when he's brought up by the left-wing media. By the corporate media, I should say, because the right-wing establishment, so-called, doesn't like a Yiannopoulos either, because he steals their thunder by actually talking about substantial things. I don't think Fox would like him very much. Nor Stefan Molyneux, who managed to get name-dropped in the article for no reason either. Here's the thing. The initial article by Luke O'Brien of Huffington Post is basically doxing. That's what it boils down to. It is taking a person who's got a private life, who is not trying to be a public figure in the sense of putting their identity out there for some motivation, usually related to profit in most cases. That's essentially what this is. It's a dox. Now, if a YouTuber were doing this to someone associated with Luke O'Brien or something, Right Wing Watch would certainly not defend it. Oh, alt-left smear expert. Here's his parents' address. Here's his sister's info and stuff. They would flip out. They would say, well, this is evil. These evil Nazis are trying to get these people harmed. And yet, again, the Huffington Post has no problem doing the same thing. It doesn't matter if a person's ideology pisses you off. If a person is Islamophobic, racist, bigoted in some way, you don't agree with their politics or their social views or something. The fact that you find them reprehensible does not mean they should be subjected to your harassment. That's essentially what this boils down to. There may be a good legal case involved by Amy Meckelberg as well, which I find compelling, which is simply this. I would think that it creates a legal gray area when someone who has not made any of that sort of material public. They are technically a public figure in terms of their audience size, but they're not associating it with their real-world identity. When you then do a multiple-page write-up about every minutia about their life, would that not count, potentially, as something that could be sued for? Because this person's not a public figure. Wouldn't it rise potentially the level of incitement or harassment? Possibly. We'll have to wait and see, I suppose. It's defamation, basically. For the purpose of politics, essentially. It's fairly obvious where the Huffington Post team's politics tend to lie. It's fairly obvious where Amy Meckelberg's politics tend to lie. Since they are technically in competition for people's time usage, both being online centers of commerce for political ideas, yeah, you could make a legal case in that. I doubt that one will go forward. It'd be expensive and time-consuming against an entity with millions of dollars like Huffpo, but it could happen. Then Jared Holt comes along, and people are upset because, a Twitter user was doxxed. That's essentially why people are upset, at least some of them. Jared Holt then cast them all off as far-right extremists, and it reminded me of sort of the coverage of Tommy Robinson, where they're saying everyone who supports Tommy Robinson is like a Nazi or an EDL member. Meanwhile, on this side of the pond, it's basically a bunch of libertarians and populists who are saying, hey, a person shouldn't be in jail for reporting on a trial. We understand that he breached UK law, supposedly. Summary trial in that case. We understand that's the claim that's being made. We're saying that the law itself is an ass, essentially, that muzzling of the free press, it doesn't make sense, and you should just sequester the jury or the trial itself, not have it exposed to the public while it's ongoing. Essentially use the system we have here in the US. Over here, we don't muzzle people talking about a criminal proceeding. We don't allow recording in the courtroom, but if you're standing outside the court trying to record people that are walking into a trial, they're not going to be able to arrest you for it. They might put their hand up so that you maybe don't see their identity or something. You have a right, though, to be there recording at the time and reporting on it. That's what we're saying. But they cast them all off as Nazis, including people like me. So I'm a libertarian. I don't care if you smoke weed, you're gay, get an abortion or whatever. I don't really care about like ethno-nationalistic sort of stuff. But I'm a Nazi, so I'm far right. I'm an extremist for talking about Tommy Robinson. The same way that if you defend somebody from doxing, that's now apparently problematic. Now, it's funny, because there's also a lie by structure in the initial Huffington Post article, and then I'll get into Malnu and some of these others. The lie by structure is that they conveniently forget to mention, I have a feeling they don't want to get attacked by the ADL for their reporting. Therefore, they leave out the fact that Amy Meckelberg is Jewish and not actually Hitler until near the end of the article. It's a lie by structure. Because people have short attention spans, you can lie by structure in a write-up, in a blog post or a news post by simply you have a clickbait juicy title and subtitle. The first paragraph or two is what you really want your audience to see, then you leave any inconvenient facts towards the end so that nobody sees them. You can't be attacked for leaving them out. That's why you include them. You simply shove them to the end of an inordinately long article in order to hide it from view from 99% of the people that are going to read it. Yeah, I think that they didn't want the ADL to send them an angry email or something. I honestly believe that. That's why it's left towards the end. Not conspiracy mongering here. That's what they would do. So they want you to think that this is an Islamophobic white supremacist, not an Islamophobe who happens to be of a religion that typically clashes with Islam within the Middle East. That's why they structured it that way. And not content to simply attack the actual subject of the article, Luke O'Brien then proceeds to say, Stefan Molyneux is a bigoted, is a racist, and she's retweeted him. InfoWars is bigoted and extremist and stuff, and Gateway Pundit too. Milo Yiannopoulos is a racist and stuff. Now, Milo Yiannopoulos is, I believe, married to a black man. Good luck making that case going forward, again. But yeah. Then Jared Holt comes out and smears everyone who's trying to defend the victim of doxing with his own smear piece, which is, you know, basically tailored to antagonize the online community. This is what he's doing. Maybe he's trying to get a job at the Huffington Post. By the way, good luck in that. That'd be funny. Only then you're a public figure. At that point, you're definitely a public figure. You can expect a lot more flack if you've got, you know, an actual substantial audience. I know right now, the Right Wing Watch, they're the audience of everyone who works there, plus all of their official sites combined is about the same as a, you know, a middling-sized YouTube channel. So, yeah, a little bit funny there, despite its budget. But this is, you know, you can't claim that all of the critics of Luke O'Brien who are angry about this are right-wing trolls. Also, stop throwing the term troll around. Somebody who's a political commentator, they're not trolling, they're giving you their honest opinion. Trolling is different from attempting to harass. It's different from giving an opinion that you happen to dislike, and it's different from heated debate. Trolling is totally different. Trolling is deliberately trying to antagonize and get a rise out of people. That's what your article is doing. So I guess Jared Holt decided to troll the YouTube community again or something. It's funny. I mean, it does technically work. It's just that this is the kind of stuff that strangulates mainstream media. The normies don't want to read about all this clickbaity stuff. They want straight reporting, and they get tired of the sensationalism. If people are liking sensationalism, trust me, YouTubers and bloggers are going to outcompete the mollusk media every day of the week, which could explain why groups like Salon have to keep downsizing, despite the fact that they say the most off-the-wall things that you've ever seen. I mean, stuff that would make the weekly world news blush ends up on a place like Salon or Breitbart. It's hilarious. Yeah. So the article itself was, you know, lame and, you know, at most half true, and then contains again several lies by structure. Holt's article was worse, and it's literally nothing more than a wall of hyperbole. It's basically this bigot and that racist, this Nazi. This post is unabashedly and shamefully Islamophobic. You know, look at this image that's like evil and stuff. It's constant hyperbole, and it plays up to the base audience of these sites, which is hyper-partisan. These are the sort of people who think that it's acceptable to go punch someone for wearing a MAGA hat, generally speaking. So you got people who aren't playing with a full deck. If you go to, like, Right Wing Watch's YouTube page, there are two kinds of people posting there. People who are incredulously, they just can't believe the spew that they're seeing, and people who take everything that is said there 100% seriously and assume it's all totally true. That's what you get. It's a hyper-partisan climate at this point. The problem is, when the legacy media does this sort of defamation, or doxing, or attacks people as ideological extremists while being ideologically extreme, it's for monetary purposes. It's for financial purposes. They want to outcompete us for money. It's not because of the actual politics themselves in a pure sense. Some of these people, they're probably people who work for Huffpo that are like actually Republicans and shit. They just don't talk about it. There are people at Fox that are liberals. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck. All they want is money. And these people are used to their cushy salaries. And they're tired of having to compete with the alternative media. People like Milo and Stefan Molyneux, and InfoWars scares them. InfoWars is itself technically mollusk media from its era. Based on its structure, it is not technically alt media. It's independent reporting, but it's not alternative media. Not in the most strict sense. Or even like a Drudge. Drudge dates to the 90s. People think it's part of the alt media because they say a kind thing about Trump once in a while before Matt Drudge has his period and decides to, go back on what he was saying the week before. It's really funny. Now, this is basically a harassment campaign against this Twitter user. And people are rightfully angry about it. And they're also, Molyneux fans aren't going to be happy when they, realize that he was defamed. InfoWars fans aren't going to be happy if InfoWars decides to say, hey, the Huffington Post is attacking us now. It's like part of a smear campaign. You're going to have, each time they do this, they overstretch. And so you have a site that's small, like Right Wing Watch, attacking 12 YouTubers at the same time whose collective audience is several million fucking people. And then they say, well, we're being harassed by right-wing trolls when people go on a tirade against them for their stupidity. I mean, it's fantastic the way that this works. And then they get their extra 10 subscribers to their fucking, lame podcast. And then they think that they've won a victory. Well, short-term, maybe so. Your long-term strategy is not very good. That's about all. Peace out.